The digital clock on the dashboard of the transport van flickered 4:14 a.m., casting a sickly green glow over Maya's handcuffed wrists. Beneath her thin shoes, the steel floor of the transport van rumbled, a vibrating reminder that she was no longer the woman who slept on 500 thread count sheets. Just 48 hours ago, she had been a full-stack cybersecurity architect, the secret weapon of Bastion Secure. Now she was a ghost in an orange jumpsuit, being hauled toward a cage. But the cage wasn't new. Maya had been living in one for 5 years, ever since the day her mother died, with a denied claim notice clutched in her shaking hand. As the van lurched through the pre-dawn shadows, Maya's mind drifted into a familiar loop. She stared at the metal mesh separating her from the driver, thinking, not of innocence, not of betrayal, but of the moment she decided to become guilty. It was 3 months ago, in the server room at 2 a.m., when she finally isolated the ghost transaction that would move $3.5 million through 17 shell companies, 14 crypto tumblers, and 3 international banking relays. She hadn't been stealing, she'd been collecting a debt. The van hit a pothole, jarring her back to the tiny hole she was held in. Through the small window, she could see the prison silhouette against the pre-dawn sky. Maya closed her eyes and remembered the smell of the hospital room where her mother had died, antiseptic and failure. The doctors had been apologetic but firm. The treatment wasn't covered. The appeal had been denied. The algorithmic review system flagged it as non-essential. That algorithm was designed by Bastion Secure. Error rate, 34%. Profit margin, undisclosed. Maya had tried to fix it through proper channels. She'd documented everything. The error rates, the false denials, the pattern of rejections that targeted the poorest patients. She'd sent it to her supervisor at her college work-study job. The supervisor sent it to the state. The state sent it to Bastion Secure. 3 weeks later, Maya received a cease and desist letter. The language was dense and threatening. Defamatory statements regarding proprietary systems, potential legal action, recommendation to cease all communication regarding alleged irregularities. Her mother died before the lawyer's letter even arrived. 6 months later, Madam Covington herself showed up at Maya's graduation. Elegant, warm, offering a job with a starting salary that would have changed Maya's life. "I heard about your mother," Covington had said, her hand on Maya's shoulder, "and I heard about your concerns regarding our Medicaid processing system. You were right to flag those issues. We're conducting an internal review. But Maya, I want you to know, we need brilliant minds like yours to make sure these systems work correctly. Come work for us. Help us fix it from the inside." The NDA had been 78 pages long. Maya signed it because she was broke, grieving, and stupid enough to believe in redemption. For 4 years, she worked at Bastion Secure. She built their systems. She secured their networks. She designed the Silicon Cell protocol that made their infrastructure unhackable. And the entire time, she waited. She waited to see if Covington would actually fix the Medicaid algorithm. She waited to see if anyone would acknowledge what had happened. She waited for an apology that never came. Instead, she found the financial records. Buried deep in the company's encrypted archives, accessible only because Maya had designed the encryption herself, she found the contract, $47 million from the state for the Medicaid processing system, 5-year exclusive deal, performance bonuses tied to cost savings, which meant denial rates. Maya did the math. Based on the error rate, the denial patterns, and the cost of treatments rejected, Bastion Secure had effectively stolen $3.5 million from patients who needed it most. Patients like her mother. So she took it back, not for herself, for them. She'd set up an anonymous trust, programmed to disperse the funds to the families of every person who died after a wrongful denial. The trust would activate automatically, 5 years after she'd moved the money, long enough for the heat to die down, long enough for the statute of limitations to create legal ambiguity. But Covington found out first. The memory shattered as the van lurched to a stop. The heavy iron gates of the state penitentiary groaned open like the jaws of a beast. Maya felt a cold sweat break out on her neck. She was 23 years old. Her first crime had been filing a complaint. Her second had been seeking justice. This was the punishment for both. The processing center was a blur of fluorescent lights and barking orders. Strip, squat, cough, dress. The orange jumpsuit felt like sandpaper against her skin. Maya moved through it mechanically, her mind already calculating. If she could survive 3 years with good behavior, the trust would activate while she was still inside. She could watch from behind bars as the money reached the people it was always meant for. She was led to a cell that smelled of bleach and old despair. The door slammed with a sound so final it felt like a heartbeat stopping. Her cellmate was an older woman with gray streaks in her dark hair, sitting on the lower bunk reading a battered paperback. "You the hacker?" the woman asked without looking up. "Architect," Maya corrected automatically. "Same thing to them." The woman finally looked at her. "I'm Dolores, embezzlement. You?" "Theft, $3.5 million. Dolores whistled low. "And you got caught? Some architect." "I wanted to get caught," Maya said quietly, surprising herself with the truth. Dolores closed her book. "Now that's interesting. Most people in here spend their whole sentence claiming they're innocent. You might be the first person I've met who's claiming they're guilty. So why do you want to get caught?" Maya sat on the upper bunk staring at the gray ceiling. "Because if I'd run, they would have frozen the money. They would have tracked it, seized it, buried it in legal proceedings for decades. But if I'm convicted, if I take the fall, the money becomes evidence. And evidence gets stored, not seized. When I get out, it transfers automatically. They can't touch it because the case is closed." "Smart," Dolores said. "Cold, but smart. So you traded 5 years of your life for $3.5 million. What's the money for?" "People who died because an algorithm decided they weren't worth saving." Dolores was quiet for a long moment. "That algorithm killed someone you knew?" "My mother." "Then you didn't get caught, kid. You turned yourself in. There's a difference." Dolores opened her book again. "But here's what they don't tell you about prison. It doesn't matter why you came in. What matters is who you are when you leave. And 5 years is a long time to stay yourself." Maya didn't sleep that first night. She lay on the thin mattress, listening to the sounds of the prison, the distant clanging of metal, the coughing, the crying, the shouting. Somewhere in the darkness, someone was singing softly in Spanish. She thought about Sarah, her best friend at Bastion Secure. Sarah had gone to Covington because she was worried. She'd found the hardware wallet in Maya's bag because Maya had left it there, knowing someone would eventually look. She'd seen the emails to Dubai because Maya had sent them, creating a digital trail that would lead investigators exactly where she wanted them to go. Sarah had tried to save her. She'd begged Covington to handle it quietly, to get Maya help instead of prosecution. Covington had smiled that warm maternal smile and said, "Of course, I'll take care of everything." And she had. She'd taken care of it by making sure Maya went to prison with a 5-year sentence instead of 20. She'd taken care of it by seizing control of the narrative, playing the grieving mentor betrayed by her protege. She'd taken care of it by ensuring that no one, not Sarah, not the police, not the prosecutors, ever looked closely enough at the Medicaid algorithm or the bodies it had left behind. Maya had expected this. She'd planned for it. She'd built her entire trap around the assumption that Covington would frame her rather than kill her, because a dead genius raises questions. A guilty genius closes cases. What she hadn't planned for was how it would feel. The weight of the handcuffs, the sound of the cell door closing, the look on Sarah's face during the trial. Not anger, but devastated confusion. "Why didn't you tell me?" Sarah had mouthed across the courtroom. Because telling her would have made her an accomplice. Because Sarah was good, genuinely good, and Maya refused to drag her into the darkness. As the first gray light of dawn crept through the high barred window, Maya made a promise to herself. She would survive these 5 years. She would keep her head down. She would not build anything, hack anything, or fix anything. She would simply endure. And when the trust activated, when the money reached the families, when justice was finally served, she would walk out of this place and disappear. But even as she made the promise, she felt the familiar itch in her fingers, the need to build, the need to solve, the need to fix broken systems. Outside her cell, something was already breaking. She could hear it in the frustrated cursing of the guards, in the mechanical grinding of a gate that wouldn't close properly. Dolores heard it too. That's the third time this week, she muttered. This place is falling apart. Maya said nothing, but her fingers curled against the rough blanket, already mapping the electrical systems, the security protocols, the weak points in the infrastructure. Old habits, she thought, die hard. And this prison had no idea what kind of architect they just locked inside. Is Maya a hero or a hazard? Tell me your theory in the comments and subscribe to follow the countdown to part 2.